All right, we are live. And bear with me here. I'm just going to get my Amazon thing set up here. And then we will carry forth, as they say. I might be doing a twofer today because I have to set up my GoPro for tomorrow. So I might actually do another stream later this evening when I'm setting that up. It may not be all that long, but we'll see what happens. And there we go. We can get the Amazon live here. And I think we are good to go. I'm just going to check my dashboard here on YouTube and make sure all is good there. I'm finding that about at the 45-minute mark is when YouTube goes south on me with this new 4K thing. And I think it just might be the fact that I'm pushing a lot of data upstream. I don't know how they do it, because I'm giving them right now 30 megabits per second, and that's quite a bit. So today is going to be kind of like a similar production to what we did earlier in the week when we looked at the that mini PC, and this one is a different mini PC. Similar processor. It's a little less powerful. This is a dual core. So this is the Mini S from Beelink, and I'll give you the overhead view here. So this one has a dual core, I believe, N5095, 8 gigs of RAM, and 256 gigabytes of storage. So there you go. And we got some folks joining us. Joe Tyson is here, and Recipe Bob is here, and Nigel is here from Heathrow once again. Good to see all the regulars popping in. William Wilkinson just went live on his PS4. Oh, cool. Is your YouTube channel William Wilkinson? We'll check it out one of these days. Roman V is here, my go-to Ubuntu guy. David Langley is here. And Pratik is here. Let's see if I can get the name right here. This is Jem Kandikar. Let me know if I got that right. I'm working on my names because I have an international audience. I want to be able to pronounce everybody's name properly. All right, so this is the Beelink. Did I put that in the description properly? Yes. The Beelink Mini S, not to be confused with the Beelink U59 we looked at recently, which is very similar to this, but this one is kind of the lower end of their lineup. And if you're curious about it, I've got the Amazon link in the description. Now, Jake has already set this up for me, so we're going to be doing kind of the rest of the stuff that I like to look at, and it's always fun to do these during a live stream. And what we're going to do, actually this is a 4-core machine, I stand corrected. What we are going to do is take it apart real quick and see what's under the hood, because I am uncertain as to whether or not this is a dual channel memory device or a single channel. From the performance benchmarks that Jake ran on it, it looks consistent with a dual channel machine. So we will check it out. And it looks like I got the name right. How about that? Martin Paolini is here. Cedar Lake is joining us. Flood of Sins is here. Tyler James is here as well. And William Wilkinson's YouTube channel is his name if you want to check his channel out, see how his live stream went. And Recipe Bob just got the Backbone controller but saw the live feed. So that's a tough choice. That's a tough choice. Me or the new controller. That's a good controller, that Backbone controller. I like it a lot. All right, so we're going to take this apart real quick because I want to see what is inside of it. Namely, I'm looking for the memory performance or the memory configuration of this thing. So we will see what we get. And I will give you a better angle of this. Let's move the box out of the way briefly. And we will start to unscrew it and see what is in here. And this shot's a little dim because I have to figure out some things with my cameras. Either have to light it better, get like brighter lights, because these lights are on full intensity. But if I run the if I zoom in the camera, the iris does not open as wide the closer that I'm zoomed in. It's kind of a issue with lower cost devices like this one. So it gets darker as I zoom in. And I did that to adjust for the motion blur that a lot of people said they saw on my initial 4K video. That's why you can see the difference in brightness between these two cameras. They're kind of zoomed, they're at the same shutter speed, but one can iris lower than the other. All right, let's see if we can get this thing open here. One thing about Beelink is that they have very tight tolerances on their hardware, which is a good thing. They come together very nicely. Fred House is here. Hello there. J.W. Stark is here. J.J. Mart is here from Southern California, or South Carolina. Oscar 29 is here. Raphael from up north in Massachusetts is here. Fred McLean is here. Mega Man is reporting for duty. All right, get to work. And Roman says, I always love the industrial design of visible screws. Even if I'm not opening the device, it's nice to see the screws. That is true. It gives you a sense of knowing that you can actually work on the device, right? Unlike stuff that's like glued together. So I'm going to get out my spudger here, and we're just going to try to find a spot where I can, there we go. Not as hard as I thought it was going to be. Oh, okay, so you got to be careful because it's got a SATA connector here. So that's a SATA hard drive. All right, so this is an 8 GB module and just one of them. So how do they achieve the performance they're getting out of this? All right, so we're going to do a little B-roll here. So let me set up a recording folder for this. And this is the Beelink Mini S. All right. Okay. So the only thing I can think of is that I hate to like take the whole thing apart, but I think I just might. I want to see what's on the other side of this without, I'm hoping that the heatsink is not like totally attached to it. Yeah, we got time, let's just do it. Because I'm trying to figure out what the memory configuration is here. It says DIMM 1, which would assume a DIMM 0, right? And it looks like there's only 4 screws to pull this motherboard out. I don't think anything else is holding it in. So let's take a look and see. Because that will at least answer the question. Now, actually, let me get the B-roll shot here real quick. So we have RAM here, and we have an M2 SATA here. But the question is there another stick of RAM inside of this thing? Now, the box said 8 GB, although sometimes what these guys do is they max it out for me. So we have to check and see. Philip Sperry is here. And William has said, is this his first live video, so no speaking? Yeah, get it, yeah, one step at a time, right? Get the stream working and then start talking. Yeah, let's see what this is, because the box says 8 GB, and this is an 8 gig module. So I'm really curious now how this thing is configured. And we will find out. I'm reluctant to like disconnect the whole SATA assembly here if I don't have to. So we'll see what, it's not that hard, I guess, to do it, but. That screw's a little hard to get at. My eyesight is going too, which doesn't help. There we go. Got to wait for it to catch in there real quick. All right. And one more screw. And this should lift right out. It's not that hard to get at it. Yeah, this should lift right out. No problem, right? Well, maybe not. Now that I'm looking at it. Let's see if we can get this. There we go. Can I do it through the ports here and just get it nudged out? Get a good grip on it and then just kind of lift it all out. Actually, I may just need to be able to look underneath it here and see what we have. Oh, I think it's stuck to the top of the case here. I feel something keeping it connected, unless it's these ports here. Let's see. Either way, it's not easily. Yeah, so these ports are kind of stuck in there. You know what I'm going to try to do? I'm going to try to get some vision underneath the heat sink here. See if we can get a look at it. Let's grab a. Hey, Social Gamer has followed us, and I Like Cats Like Springs is here. So yeah, I'm trying not to break this thing because I'd like to do the review before I attempt to break it. What I'm most curious about here with my flashlight is to see if we can see another stick of RAM in there, but I don't think there is one. So if it's only got one stick, it's going to be single channel, but I can't really see too well in there. So we're going to have to keep digging. James says, hi, do not break it. Yeah. Yeah, we don't want to break anything. That is the goal. Oh, that was not breaking. That was my little spudger thing. There's something adhering it to the top of the case. I also don't want to put too much strain on anything here either. But if I can get a good grip on it, and there we go. Now it's starting to come out. I'll give you the other view here. I got to give these guys credit because they really know how to make a very, like their cases are very well constructed. You know, I've looked at a lot of their PCs at this point, and almost all of them have a, you know, for the price, you know, it's not like Apple quality, but you know, for its segment of the market, they're usually pretty nicely constructed. So much so that I don't know how they get these things in there in the first place. Yeah, so, you know, these front ports don't want to come out. That didn't sound good. I think there might be some adhesive somewhere that's holding it all in, which might be why we can't just lift it out. So I don't see any more screws. And these should come clear when we get this out far enough. It's like a whole other layer in there too. I'm also reluctant just to start sticking stuff in it too, right? You want to be really careful about all of that. But I really don't see another stick of RAM in here. All right, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put this thing back together, and we're going to boot it up and see if it has 8 gigs or 16. If it has 16, then we know there's more RAM somewhere. Because the big question I'm trying to answer here is whether or not this system, I lost the screw, whether or not this system has 16 gigs of dual channel memory or single channel memory. That's the big question we're trying to answer here. Now Kat says those chips above the RAM look like soldered RAM. So let's see, let me take the RAM stick out here and see what else is in here. That could have been probably the first step. Because this is the M2 SATA, and there's nothing underneath it that looks like RAM. And it says DIMM 1, again, which implies that there's a DIMM 0. So let's boot it up and see what we've got. And then we'll make a final determination before I break something. We've been known to break things on the live streams, which never is good. Serial Tune wants to know, are there any small machines that can accommodate a 3.5-inch hard drive? Most of the ones that I see are 2.5, like this one. I have not seen one recently that can do a bigger one. The Wi-Fi is AC Wi-Fi. And hopefully I didn't screw up the antennas. That might be what was glued in. I didn't even think about that. It is AC Wi-Fi that is running on this with an Intel chipset, which is just like the other one we looked at, also had Intel. So this should do pretty well with with Linux when we boot Linux up on it. And this is a Jasper Lake processor. And Chris actually got a notification about this one this time. I hope your banking problem is resolving itself, Chris. I had some issues with that bank too. So I switched, I think I tweeted you, I switched to my local, I've been using them for a while for other things, but I put more of my money into my local bank. This is like one of the last like real legit local banks. Like they're not owned by anybody. It's good stuff. The Jolt Dude is here. The Tan Man loves the PC streams. I do too. And Roman says it's all the same kind of size. Yeah, these are all pretty much the same size screws. And then, of course, you've got your SATA hard drive. I actually didn't really capture that either. Let me grab a quick B-roll shot here of this. So what you would do is slide in your SATA hard drive into this, and you would get your larger drive installed. And you have your M.2 here. Chris Allegretta says, Beelink is killing it. Yeah, I got that, that AMD one is great. That might be like my little base station for my amateur radio stuff when I get my antennas installed. That's a whole other adventure. And Harold says, yeah, this is actually a, this comes from iFixit. I bought one of their kits a little while back, and they are like little guitar picks, but they're super thin, so they can squeeze into things. But they're also very brittle, so they tend to break. James says they must have built the case around the main board. Yeah, I think you should have seen the one we looked at, the AMD one, which was made out of metal. Like we spent a good amount of time, because we live streamed that one too. We spent a good amount of time just trying to get the case off because it was so, it was so tight. And that's a real credit to the manufacturing because these are all pieces that are manufactured separately and then get put together. So I thought that was really, really cool. All right. Maria says, I'm watching with fear. Yeah, I'm more fearful now when I plug it back in and see what happens. So we'll see what happens here. Jolt Dude says, or hot snot. We'll see what happens when we boot it up. Yes, things are looking better, right? We've got the 4K going. It's like, boom, I have to shave now more often. It's looking pretty good. And I'm streaming out at 4K on YouTube. But even, so Amazon does 720p, and even that looks better. I think it's when you're downscaling from 4K to 720, it actually does better. Because I'm only sending them 2.5 megabits per second at 720p, and it's looking pretty good. All right, so there we go. I brewed me up some coffee before we got started. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to zoom out my camera, get you all a better view of the situation here. And what we'll do is connect the mini PC to my video system, and that will route out to the monitor. It's got 2 HDMIs on the back here, so you can do 2 outputs. So the U59, which is the other one we looked at, that one had a USB Type-C that would get you 3, but this one's only going to get you 2. But they are both 4K 60 capable. And in the box here, we have, they give you an HDMI. Actually, you get 2, I think. Yes. They give you a short and a long HDMI. These are, here's the cables in case you missed it. These are screws, I believe, for the hard drive, if you wanted to install the hard drive. And yes, it's for the hard drive, but it's also if you wanted to use the VESA mount. So this is what you would use to mount it on the back of a monitor. So that comes in the box. And then you've got a, just like before, a very short power cable. So much shorter than the one we looked at the other day. And Chris says, yeah, I think the Wi-Fi antennas go underneath the main board and are adhered. So I may have been pulling at those because they're usually just little thin wires that they put in and attach to the thing there. Yeah, I'll have to get, I would be dangerous with a heat gun. So we'll see what we get. Jolt Dude likes the screwdriver. Yeah, this is a great set. I bought this, actually this was a Prime Day's coming up, by the way. I bought this on a Prime Day deal a while back. This is a Araya, let me see the name of it here. It's actually I have it linked in the Amazon video thing if you go to that. It is Araya Precision Screwdriver Set, and it's designed for PC work. It actually comes with a spudger and a whole bunch of other stuff. And I have yet to find a PC that could not be opened with this kit. It's got everything in it. So it's got all the bits that you need. The one thing I found is that the bits themselves are they're a softer metal, so they tend to bend a little bit. So if you're trying to pry things open, probably not the best for that. But beyond that, I've had this now for several years, and it's been working great. Frank Cromer wants to know, do I know the dates for Prime Day? Yes, I believe it's July 12th and 13th. There's 2 days like they usually do. All right, we're going to connect power. And then we're going to connect up my Lenovo. This is like my favorite portable keyboard because it's very compact and it feels like a ThinkPad. We'll just plug its little dongle in. This does Bluetooth also, the keyboard. But I found it's easier, especially if you're trying to get into the BIOS and stuff, just to run it with its dongle, because then it comes in as a keyboard through the USB. All right, here we go. Say a prayer. Hopefully I didn't break it. The fan is on. Let's see what's going on here. Make sure I got everything connected properly. So it could be, oh, there it goes. And Jake already set this up, so I won't have to bore you with 3 hours of updates. All right. Here we go. Screen Playhouse is watching through his LG OLED with his Beelink SER3. That's a nice machine too. This is interesting. Microsoft is going to be mandating that OEMs have to use SSDs for boot drives. I did not hear that. They're getting very specific about their hardware requirements. Yeah, we'll download CPU-Z here and see what the configuration is. All right. So now, what we're going to do, hopefully this doesn't blow up the stream. I remember I was telling you that sometimes my thing explodes from this, so we'll see. If I drop out, I will come back. And we got it. Perfect. Okay, so we'll log in here. Now it's right now at 1080p, so we are going to switch it up to 4K. My thing reports itself as 1080p, even though it can handle 4K. So we're going to go to 4K, and we'll make sure we are at 60 hertz. I like to do 200% at 4K for the screen scaling. And it looks as though it's got Windows 11. And let's go to refresh rate, and we were at 60. Perfect. Okay, so now I'm going to add back in. If I drop, I will be back. This NDI capture device I use occasionally drops out at 4K 60, but not this time. All right, we're good there. And let's check out what version of Windows we have. Let's see here, activation. All right, it is activated. with a digital license. Let me go do the about. I forgot there's a key command I could do for this too, but I always just do this. And this is running, oh, this is Windows 11 Pro also. The one we looked at yesterday had Windows 11 Pro on it too. And for what like a Windows 11 Pro license costs, it's like, you might as well just buy the computer. Interesting. And Tan Man is bothered by my misaligned. You know why I have it aligned like that? Is because if I align it, it's kind of pointed towards us here. As you can, I have to actually make some adjustments. You can see that the light is reflecting in there. And if I don't have it angled that way, it just like shoots the light back at the camera. All right. Roman says he thinks that they intended to VESA mount it based on the fact the HDMI ports seem like they're upside down. Yeah, I think that's probably the intended use. And Jolt Dude says, I wish more wireless keyboards. Yeah, I like the nub. I'm a big nub fan. Once you get used to it, it's like really easy to work with, especially on this portable keyboard. The only thing I don't like about this keyboard is that it's not backlit. That's the only downside, but I'm a good touch typer. Horizons Virtual is here, a fellow Connecticut resident. Got to represent. And Jokin wants to know, how can they sell for such a low price? The SSD and the RAM alone are almost worth the price. I think it's all about volume, like what kind of volumes that they can get. And remember, all this stuff is made in China, so they have access to all of the components without all of the freight costs in between. And just to put this in perspective, because I used to work in a industry that imported by container. So it used to be like a 40-foot container was maybe $4,000 or $5,000 to ship from China to the U.S., give or take. I think it went up as high as like 20,000 at the height of everything. It's coming back down finally, but it's still way up there. So when you look at cost, what you do when you're projecting cost is you look at the total cost of the container and then project it out based on the volume that each box takes up to figure out what its shipping cost is. But still, like if freight goes up, 200%, it's going to be translated down to each one of those cheap items, right? And then it kind of goes up from there. And then when you factor in all the components that make up a computer, it's actually cheaper to ship the entire computer than it is to ship the components first to make a computer, right? So there you go. And that's exactly what, I should have read Chris's comment before I said anything, because that's exactly it, right? It's all about component cost. And Recipe Bob's wife is watching Eat, Pray, Love. Yeah, I think you're definitely winning. I think my wife is into those movies too. And I have not replaced the exploding Rifa cap yet. I do have, so I'm like the last person that should be replacing anything. Although I did buy a soldering iron recently. Maybe that might be a fun project to do. But I did acquire a completely brand new power supply. Long story, I've got a whole bunch of stuff. One of these days we'll go through it all. This guy who was downsizing gave me his entire Apple user group collection. And there's some neat stuff in there. I have to go through it all. Alvin is here. You're not late. We're first getting going here. And it is a nice little mini PC. And the NUCs are more expensive, aren't they? All right. They also have a, domestic support, which you don't always get with these. All right, so what we want to do first is probably grab CPU-Z just to see what this thing has inside because, and I should have looked at the RAM, I'm pretty sure that, let's go back to that screen. I think it's only showing me 8 gigabytes, which means that there's only 1 stick of RAM. Yep, only 8 gigs. So this should be only single channel performance out of this. Let me connect it to my Wi-Fi real quick. And so we have to do some Linux tests on it and a few other things. Okay, we are connected. So let's grab CPU Z. All right. And we're going to get the zip version. I hate these ads. The problem with these ads, they trick people into thinking that you're actually downloading. That's why I always say to people, like, just you need to install an ad blocker, not for necessarily for the performance gains, which are substantial, but you also get the benefit of security to prevent clicking on the wrong thing. All right, there we go. And we'll load this up real quick. And we'll get a good look at this. All right, let me give you the view, and that's kind of zoomed out, so I'm going to zoom in for you. I'm going to create a virtual input here, and we're going to go to position, zoom. There we go. How about that? It's the magic of vMix. All right, so memory. See, it doesn't have any idea. I've seen this before. But I mean, it's got to be single core or single speed, not dual channel, right? That's all it's given us is that. So that's all I can think of there. All right, so what I want to do, let's take a look at its, I'll probably do this during the video also, but we always like to go visit NASA's website just to see how it handles all that. Because Jake did, let me look at my numbers here from Jake's tests on this thing. In looking at this, yeah, you know what? It's probably, here's what is interesting is that the U59 that we looked at not all that long ago scores about the same, and that one is dual. Well, it should be. If it isn't, maybe that could be. Let me look at this now, because I always wonder if I got that one wrong, but I'm pretty sure that one had 2 sticks of RAM in it. I can go back and look at it. Let's take a look. U59. So the Beelink U59, yeah, had 16 gigs of RAM, dual channel. Unless it was only running single, I don't know. It just seems like we should see a performance difference on the graphics. And here, I'll pull up what I'm looking at so you all can see it. So I'm going to show you the cheat sheet that we work with when we are working on computers on the channel here. And I'm just going to turn on my Do Not Disturb. Okay. So if you look at the CloudGate test, for example, the U59 was the one we looked at that had 16 gigs of RAM on board. It scores almost identically, which you would expect if they both were dual channel. So perhaps both of these are single channel because, and this could be it, because what surprised me about that Melee that we looked at was that it performed so much better. So I wonder if I got it wrong on the U59. Perhaps that one was only single channel, because this is scoring identical to it. and I would expect it not to on the graphics side. The CPU, you could usually see a similar score. The only other thing I can think of is that the Jasper Lake graphics are more efficient and less sensitive to memory bandwidth, but I can't see that being the case. Interesting. Yes, we are 4K now. Look at this. It's like you could touch me if you wanted to. I don't want you to, but yeah, it's got to be single channel. So which means that the other one was. Hardware info is another one we could look at. I mean, the only thing I could think of would be that they're splitting a single module into, I don't know how you would do that, right? Let's see if hardware info will give us anything else on this one. Free download. See, it gets confusing. It's like, what am I downloading here? Portable. See, like, this is what I'm talking about. These ads that look like, so what has happened? Somebody clicks this thinking I'm downloading it, when in fact this is what you want here. All right, so let's go and take a look at that. Because it seems to perform exactly like the U59 does, which is their slightly higher end one. That one can support more. Actually, it doesn't. It has the USB-C. I think that was the big difference with that one. This one's a lot quieter, though. I remember the other one's fan was a little noisier. Okay, so here's our system summary. Single channel. I'll give you a closer look at it here. So now I'm curious about the U59. But this would explain, because that was the thing I was having a hard time with that Melee PC, is why is it performing so much better? Well, that's why. Okay, so now I've got to go back to the other one and see if I screwed up on that. Because the other one had 2 sticks of RAM, so it could just be it doesn't support dual channel memory. Let me go see if I can find it real quick. Because now it's bugging me. I hate it when I get stuff wrong, but I had no reason to think with 2 sticks of RAM that one would not be performing at that level. Just want to see if it's over here. If it isn't, I will maybe correct the record later on that. Yeah, I don't see it handy here. Okay. Well, at least that mystery is solved, so we can move on from there. Stash is here. OM1 / is here, and Photomix Media is here, saying I look very crisp. Thank you. I feel crisp. SK Riot 86 says I'm looking for a monitor with 4K, but does this have built-in speakers? This does not have built-in speakers, but it does have on the back. Let me see if this one has it on the back here. Yes, on the back it has a headphone jack, and what I've done, so I have another, on my desk over there, I've got another monitor. And what I did is I have these really nice Yamaha desktop computer speakers, and I plugged the speakers into the headphone jack on the monitor because even though the monitor doesn't have speakers, you can route the sound through the monitor and get them out to the speakers. And I've done that with my LG monitors over there because I've never found a monitor that has good speakers built in. And so this gets you the ability to get some really high quality speakers hooked up. And what I do is I have a Thunderbolt docking station. So usually my Mac is plugged in there. So I just plug in one cable. The audio goes through the Thunderbolt, through the display port, into the monitor, and then out to the speakers. But I'm getting the best quality audio because I'm not relying on the dock's audio circuitry for that, nor am I using the crappy speakers built into the monitor. So it works really well. Hopefully that answers the question there. Lawn sweeper. I should come up with that. It has to involve my hair in some way. All right. Wilton Merritt is here. Joltude says good. Yeah, they I think Retro RGB did a whole thing on shielded speakers recently. Somebody just did something on it. But most monitors don't need it anymore because they don't have CRTs built in, so it doesn't screw them up like they used to. All right, what should we do? Should we do a little game streaming? I think that's what we did last time. So let me get the Xbox app going. I'm probably going to need to like start taking computers off my account. So what we like to do is just test out how it streams games, right? And all that kind of stuff. So William was wondering, I don't know the answer to this question, if there's a way to hook up a microphone to the PS4 for live streaming. I'm not sure how that works. But I am going to sign in to Game Pass here, and we'll try out a game streaming session. That explains a lot as to why that other computer yesterday, or the one we did the other day, does better. All right, hang on a second here. Let me get... All right, bear with me, folks. I'm just getting my LastPass. Oh, my light is still on. Let's turn that off. All right. Yes, I'm going to be back on a little later this evening, I think, because I need to get my camera set up for my event that I'm going to tomorrow. That's going to be a fun one. That's one of these PepCom events. And I'm going to try to cover it as a one-man band. I've always struggled with like one-man banding it, but I've got now, I think, a workflow with my GoPro that's going to work pretty well. So I'm going to have the microphone in one hand, the GoPro in the other, and then I'll have people pick things up. That's the plan. And I'm hoping there's enough stuff to see at this show tomorrow, so we'll see what they have. If not, I'll do some color. You know, get some friends to join me for quick interviews or whatever. All right, Microsoft. Almost there. We're just getting my account logged in. I have been well, Dean. Feeling fine. And AV hotel work got me busy. I'm all zoomed and teamed out. I know that feeling. I am so done with it. That's why I'm so excited to go see people tomorrow. I saw people yesterday, and I will see people tomorrow. Broke Citizen is here. Welcome. It has been a while, but you're here. And Bob was the one testing the shielding things and the speed test. Yeah, we'll run the speed test app too. Maybe we'll do that first, because we have to install an extra component here. The host process for Windows services, whatever the heck that is. I'm not going to spoil it, but I saw the Kenobi finale, and I was very satisfied with that, by the way. I got up early this morning, and I was like, I got an hour. Maybe I'll just watch it. Because I didn't want to go on Twitter like I do in the morning and get spoiled, so I watched it this morning first thing. And I was so happy with it, I might watch it again. And Dean wants to know if I picked up the Hyperdeck Shuttle HD. I have not. Have I? Hyperdeck Shuttle HD. What is that? Oh, no, I haven't. Oh, that's that little thing with the shuttle jogger on there. That looks pretty cool. I have not picked that up. Well, that looks so cool. That looks really neat. I should get one. I'll add it to my list of... I still haven't found a buyer for my Cloud Pod. It got a lot of views, but nobody wants it. All right. So let me go and grab the speed test app real quick, and we'll run that Wi-Fi test on here and see how it does. Now, the one we looked at today Wednesday? Yeah, the one we looked at on Monday had a Wi-Fi 6 on board. This one is not Wi-Fi 6. This is Wi-Fi 5 AC. All right, so we're going to grab Speed Test by Ookla. Install that sucker. And we'll let that download real quick. Ryan Bain says, yes, yeah, they only did 6 episodes. I guess Ewan McGregor was expensive. But I think what they can do, and I hope they do this, I would love for them to do a season 2 with him just doing Obi-Wan stuff. Like, don't mess up the timeline, but have him go do Obi-Wan stuff. And they kind of, you know, throughout the season, there's like, I think they've got enough to work with here. And maybe what they could do, so there's the next show that comes up next is Andor, which is kind of a spin-off of Rogue One, which is the, you know, the underground group, that, you know, kind of the formation of the rebellion. So I think there might be a great opportunity to tie that in, because I think what they've done really well with Rogue One, and especially with this series, is they've started connecting the prequels to the mainstream movies. And I have a very different, like, and I think they did this through the animated series too, is that they've made the prequels better by fleshing it out through the additional content. And I think Kenobi does a really good job of that. All right, so we are on the AC Wi-Fi. This will not be as quick as we saw the other day. Let me just do a quick little B-roll capture here. So the Wi-Fi 6, remember we got it up to like 500 or so it was about twice as fast. And then of course if we were on Ethernet, we'd get gigabit. And the best thing, I have so much bandwidth, it doesn't matter that I'm sending 40 megabits upstream right now because I still have like 5 gigabits left. So there you go. So big difference, right? It's about 200 megabits or so. And Dean misses The Expanse. Yeah, that was a good show. I think they're going to have some spin-off of that. And I think Ewan McGregor was known for Train Spotting, right, before the prequel movies. And I don't own a Stream Bridge. What is that? Now you're making me buy all this stuff. What is that? Stream Bridge. What is that? I don't even know what that is. Let me know what that is. I can't really find a quick thing on there. And Roman predicted 250. I forgot that, like, I have to run at a slower rate on the chat. So you guys are about 30 seconds behind me here. But yep, Roman was very close to what we ended up getting. I have a Unify Wi-Fi 6 access point in the ceiling. So that backhauls at a gigabit Ethernet back to my thing. And I have it configured 80 megahertz wide, both for AC and Wi-Fi 6. It does not do the 160. And yeah, this is on the Gigabit Pro. Now we did see, we looked at, I actually donated the computer away already. We did have a Chewy mini PC that had a 2.5 gigabit Ethernet on it, but it didn't work at that speed most of the time. It kept like reducing its performance level. So it was not very good. All right, let's go in and see what's on the cloud gaming library here. Maybe we'll try a different game, because we always do the same game. And I gotta get the controller paired up. Now this has Bluetooth built in, of course, so you can use your Xbox controller with it. So let's go into that. I think Jake has an Xbox Elite controller because it always shows up here. And I'll set it into pairing mode here. All right, and we're going to go with the Xbox wireless controller. Now, in about 5 minutes or so, I believe the YouTube, if it does what it did the last 2 times, we're going to lose the YouTube stream in about 2 or 3 minutes, and I'll just restart it. You won't have to do anything. But the last 2 times, it like conks out around 50 minutes in. It's weird. Okay, and that's only because I think I'm sending them so much data. I wonder if they're like routing me to something differently. I think most people don't stream at this rate. And I might just punish them by sending them even more data. We'll have to see. All right, so now let's take a look here and see what we've got for cloud gaming games that we can play. Let's see, day 1 releases. I wonder if I can find if Wreckfest is on here. I think the driving games work the best for these kinds of demos, I think. And I also don't want to like get into something that takes an hour to get started with. What we could do, if we're talking about Star Wars, let's see here. Let's go and look at, let's see if there's any Star Wars games we can stream. Play with Game Pass. So I started Fallen Order, but I don't think I can stream that one. No. What about Squadrons? Can we stream Squadrons? Squadrons, by the way, is awesome in VR. But it doesn't look like it's available for streaming. Let's see. So Rummy wants to do Shenmue. Let's take a look and see if Shenmue will run on it. Oops. Yeah, it's actually not even on Game Pass anymore. I thought that was on Game Pass, but I guess it isn't. I also want to get something that we can just jump in and play as opposed to like having the farts around for an hour. What about? I think I started Halo. I could probably jump into Halo. All console games. So I don't think these are all streamable though, even though I'm in the cloud gaming section. Let's just try Halo Infinite. I think you can stream Halo Infinite. I'd be surprised if you couldn't, right? Yeah, we can stream it. Now, we tried this last time. It did the same exact thing. It like gets stuck, and you got to like reload the app, and then it loads. Then it works fine. I'm not sure why it does that. Same exact thing happened last time. I'll give it another go here. And then we'll do some Linux stuff. All right, we're coming up on 55 minutes, and this is about where it usually YouTube dies, so we'll see if it keeps going. Rodion Milov wants to know, $296 for a 4K monitor, what? This one is only 60 hertz, and there's no HDR. This is like your bare minimum kind of 4K monitor, but I bought it specifically for the purposes that we're using it for here, which is to sit on this desk. It gets tossed around quite a bit. I did tighten up the stand on it, so it's a little more stable now than it was. But I found this to be a really good monitor for basic usage. It doesn't have all the bells and whistles, but it works quite well. Now, Shredder's Revenge is a lot of fun, but this doesn't really show off the cloud gaming features. But wait a minute. So here we are in cloud gaming, and if I click on Fallen Order, can I? Oh, I can stream it. Okay, let's try it. Let's do that. There it goes. I guess you got to load it from the right spot. Ken Driggers is on the road. We'll make this quick. Could I add a test for all the PCs that includes transcoding a large file? I haven't really done that. Are you asking in Plex or just video in general? Because to be honest with you, I don't know if there's a lot of people interested in that beyond like the video people. And I think the other benchmarks that we run kind of indicate how it might fall. But we could look at that if there's enough interest. I just hate to add another thing to the video if it's not a big thing that people are really looking for in a review. To try to stick to more of a consumer approach to these things. Like, how does it... Okay, we're back. Yeah, it's at 55 minutes every time. It's almost like clockwork. It's like right at the 55-minute mark. I'm going to have to send YouTube an email. It drops at 55 minutes, right on, it's like almost like on the money. It's the third time. And Amazon did not drop. So, because I was thinking, oh, if it's an internet problem, both would drop like it used to. But yeah, it's like right on schedule. Isn't that crazy? All right, we are back. All right, let me just go through a few things here. But yeah, I've been watching the Orville because Chris Allegretto was mentioning the Orville, and I like the Orville. And I liken that. What was the other show that I was watching? It like initially didn't take itself all that seriously, and then it did. Because like the Orville initially was kind of like goofy, right? And then it got serious mid-season. What was the other show that I was watching that had a similar vibe? Gosh, I can't think of it now. But I was thinking this is just like the Orville. Like it starts in one way and becomes, what was it? It's gonna bug me now. All right, so this is cloud gaming. And I'll just hit the record button here. The frame rate looks solid. Graphically, it's not spectacular, but that's because of what resolution Microsoft sends down on these things. I don't think I want to attack that beast there. This is about all about as far as I've gotten in this game. Oh no! You know what happens? I've always got something to work on with the channel, so that's kind of how it goes. But it seems to be working just fine. This is cloud, Microsoft Xbox cloud gaming. Looks good. All right, we got that captured. And let's grab... Yeah, it is like clockwork that they drop us out like that. Maybe, so Ivika says, maybe I was thinking of Star Trek Lower Decks. I think maybe that was one of them too. There was another one, maybe it was Lower Decks. But I was just watching, it was a show that I was watching, and I was like, this is like very similar to how I feel about the Orville. Maybe it was Lower Decks, where there's more character development now. I wish I could remember what it was. And I don't watch many TV shows, so it's driving me crazy now. But I remember very specifically thinking about, like, wow, this is a lot like the Orville. All right, so let's quit the game. All right, that seems to work pretty well. All right, so now what we'll do is we will attempt a Linux boot. So we will take my Linux hard drive out here and connect her up. And we're going to look for, specifically, we're going to look for what it detects. And Billy Castle's here is saying it's hotter than heck in Houston. It's not too bad here. We've had some really good weather here in Connecticut. It is raining today, which we needed desperately, so it keeps me from having to water the garden. And Aaron says, don't you hate it when you're trying to think of something and you can't? Yes. And it's getting worse as I get older. So I have too much stuff in my head now, right? Okay, we'll take a look at the BIOS, in case you're curious. Give you a look at that. This one doesn't have as much to configure as the other one did. Remember the other one we looked at had all this stuff? This one's got a lot less. And Tornado says you can see that we're using the, the Amazon HD cable. Isn't that funny? Yeah. It's super sharp, isn't it? All right, so we're going to go. So I guess on this one I can move the USB device up. Let's see. Yes, right now it's booting off of that SATA drive. So we'll take the USB and move it up the ladder here. Oops. Where'd it go? Went the wrong direction here. Oops. Let's change it over here. There we go. So do USB first and then the hard drive. And let me just get off of this and we'll reboot. And it did not boot off the USB. Let's try this again. This happened on the other machine too. Seemed to be running into similar issues here. Although there is a command here, I can override boot with F7. Now what's nice about this computer is that they give you a little thing at the bottom here, delete for BIOS. Isn't that nice? They're one of the few brands that do that. By the way, this has a fan. It is really quiet. And according to Jake, who does my system testing for me, it got a 99.6% on the stress test. Oops, that's the other one. Hang on a second. That's the wrong one. One minute. Got the wrong computer up here. Mini S. So the Mini S on the stress test got a, no, oh, okay, got a 95.6. So its quiet fan could be a point of contention in the sense of that it will throttle a little bit, it seems like. So it's not fanless, but it's quiet. It's so quiet it may as well be. All right, hit F7 this time. F7, 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 boot menu, F7. Okay, so I got to hit function F7. Let's try it again. Function lock. I didn't have my function lock on. Okay, so let's try that one more time. And we'll get it this time. At least Windows boots quickly on it, right? Otherwise, we'd be sitting here forever. So restart anyway. I'm going to do function F7 this time. I'm hitting F7. Wait, it doesn't really want to comply, does it? All right, we'll try it one other way. Tornado says the overhead camera. Yeah, I got everything tuned at 4K. And these are the same cameras I've been using. Isn't that crazy? Like they really, look at, you can even see like just the texture of the plastic in a way you couldn't before. It's amazing. The only thing I'm struggling with is, oh, there it goes. So watch what happens. See how bright that is now? Because of what I have the shutter set to, when I zoom in, see how it gets darker as I zoom in? Because the aperture has to close as you get closer in. So that's the only thing I'm struggling with. Because I used to run the shutters at 30, a shutter speed of 30, but the motion blur became very noticeable at 4K. So it's pretty sharp obviously, but there's a little bit of motion blur. I'm gonna get in touch with YouTube about that 55-minute thing. It's just weird. It like just drops you right at 55. It doesn't give you a warning. It just knocks you out. I don't know if it's Comcast doing it. Whatever it is, it's like right at 55 minutes. Okay. So the boot is still set for the USB device. But you know what I might do is just disable the hard drive altogether. Although it should just boot up. Let's try a different USB port. I'll try the front one. Let's see if it lights up here. Yeah, it's lighting up. Now what's the quiet boot option? Let's make sure secure boot is off. Oh, secure boot's on, that's why. All right, that'll fix it. That should do it. Yeah, now it's going, I think. Nope, it just went right back to it. Let me try the F7 thing again. Maybe that'll do it. Joe Tyson wants to know, does the SSD slide? Yes, it slides right in there. Unfortunately, they don't make this anymore. This is called a stock plop. And it is an awesome, I'll show it to you in a second here. Let's see if I can get that boot menu to pop up. Yeah, boot menu. Nah. I have an option left here. So this is called a stock plop. They don't make these anymore, and it's a shame because they are so awesome. So let me unplug it real quick. So what you do, you take your, so I have like this Kingston drive here, and you just slide it in. And you connect it with USB. And I usually boot Linux off of this all the time. I mean, I guess what we could do is we could try installing it in the computer and see if that does anything to it. That's the last resort. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn off the system drive altogether and see if that gets it going. I know it's going to run Linux just fine. Like it has never not run on any of these machines, but for whatever reason, it's being mean. All right, I'm just going to disable the. I'm just disabling all the internal hard drives and see if that does anything. There it goes. Just had to really coax it. My friend who likes cats on Amazon wants to know, can it show pictures of cats? It totally can. It is actually really good at cat pictures. And I am on Tech says, yeah, I think I bought these on Kickstarter or something. I remember them coming out. I was like, oh, this is so awesome, because I was frequently moving discs around. And unfortunately, it is no longer made. It was called the stock plop. Maybe it was a victim of its own success. I don't know. And they were like 30 bucks. If you go to stockplop.com, they are gone. Okay, so we're going to try Ubuntu. I'm getting some error messages, but that shouldn't be a deal breaker, hopefully. There it goes. And right now we were at 1080p, so like before, we're going to boost it to 4K. Now I'm curious, remember when we did this the other day, we installed some apps that were not native to the live boot? Like we put Chromium on, but it looks like Chromium is not on here now, so I don't know how they do that. Maybe they just have a partition that exists temporarily or something. If I type in Chromium, yeah, it's not in there. Okay, doesn't matter. So we're going to go to 4K at 200 and apply. Aha, whoa, keep changes. There we go. And I will bring back my NDI. I push my luck every time I bring in and we should be ready to go. There we go. Perfect. Okay. So we got that. Next thing to check is the Wi-Fi. So let me get that on. Wi-Fi, select network. Yep, Wi-Fi works. I will say it feels a little more sluggish than that other one we looked at. And it might just be the context of today. I don't know. but it could be the single channel with the 4K. I don't know. Okay. So Live Boot does it all in RAM. I was not aware of that. Okay, so now let's boot up Firefox here. And I want to check and make sure the audio is working. And I'll activate audio here. Now, I'm not hearing any. And the audio should work because it worked on the other one. Let's take a look. Yeah, it's not pushing any audio through, but that may be my fault. So let's see here. And we'll wait for it to go through. Skip ad. Okay, skip ad. And now I'm running picture-in-picture. Okay, so you can see me, but you can't hear me. Let's see if I can select the output speakers. It's going through headphones. So we're going to do HDMI. Because we're making things kind of funky behind. Sorry, Ray. Audio works. I don't have anybody that can sit in this chair right now to focus everything. But I do think the quality of the video is a lot sharper versus what it looked like before. And we have a few things here on the table that you can have a look at. All right, so I'm going to do a little B-roll here. Yeah, it does. I'll tell you, it does feel a little more sluggish, likely due to the single channel memory. Because that other PC we looked at felt a little bit zippier at 4K. But everything seems to be working, so that's good. All right, so we have a request in Amazon to see a cat video. I got to make sure I don't get into trouble by stealing somebody else's content. So let's see here. We need to find a Creative Commons cat video. But I think actually you can see here that it does play cat video. Here, I'll play this ad. Diverse, what is this? I don't know what I'm clicking on. Hang on a minute. Let's not do that. 12 hours of cat TV. Here's a cat. See, yeah, it looks like you can play cat videos with it, just to meet that requirement. And yeah, I'm not sure why it did that, because it didn't do it before. I don't usually see it doing that headphone thing. Yes, no, we're at 60, I think. Maybe that's why it feels sluggish. Let me see. Maybe I got it wrong. Hang on. Oh, that's why. You're right. Good eyes. That's why it feels sluggish. Let me redo all this now. It was set at 24. That is why it is sluggish. So give me a second here. I'm just going to move it up to 60. There's your problem. Yep, we're at 60 now. Much better. Okay, good. This is why I do these things live, because you see what happens? I never notice this stuff half the time. One computer becomes the next computer, and you know how it goes. Okay. All right, so now let's do this again. I'm just going to recapture some B-roll with 60. Yeah, now it feels better. Get through these ads here. I have YouTube Premium. I'm not logged into my account, so that's why we're not seeing it. There we go. Oops, let me start from scratch here. There we go. And this is 4K 60. All right, good. Linux is a go. My cat friend on Amazon says he can never be a streamer because he can't stand, you know, you get used to your voice after a while. It's really hard initially. But I started doing this video stuff when I was 13, so I just got used to it over time. I used to hate my voice, especially when I was 13. I really hated my voice. Aaron wants to know, would I recommend this? No, I would not. In fact, I don't recommend really any Windows PC at this point because they're so difficult when it comes to HDR. Getting it into the right mode and everything. So like the NVIDIA Shield is what I recommend people use now because it just supports everything. And I don't know what fractional scaling is. I think what it might be is that if your scaling is not equally divisible, that might be what it is, that it's not an equal divisible thing. Let's turn it on. So if we turn, because right now it's 100, 200, 3, well, I guess 300 wouldn't be equally divisible either, right? Or although it's 3x, 4x. So we could do 225, for example. But I would imagine that consumes more resources to calculate. I don't know. It does feel a little slower. That's why 200% I always find for me to be the sweet spot on scaling. That's the one I tend to go with. But yeah, it works pretty good. Christoph is wondering about the, yeah, I'm going to have to get in touch with that guy and make sure he's okay with it. And 8BVG says that HDR elitist. Yeah, you know what it is like, once you get it, you get it. And Chris doesn't recommend Windows for anything. Remember, Chris is the guy. If you ever use Nano, you have Chris to thank for Nano. And I'm sure he has many other things in his resume also, but that's what I always think of. Whenever I boot up Nano, I think of Chris every time. What I would say, if you're looking at one of these, is get one that's got the dual channel memory configuration. So the other day, and this review is going up later in the week. I just put it away. Where'd it go? We looked at this little fanless one. It's like the size of a game cartridge. And it worked really well. That one was dual channel. It was a little quicker. So I would not recommend this really for anything other than light usage because of the dual channel issue. I mean, it'll run Plex just fine, but you'll get better performance and more streams going if you've got the dual channel memory. It just that processor can make use of all of it. And Jolt Dude says, Nano the text editor. Yes. Yep, if you go and look at the about, you will see Chris Allegretta as the originator. Does Mac OS on the Mac Mini do HDR? I don't believe so. I don't believe so. Yep, so it's Nano's great. I got Nano running on my Mac all the time. Now, back in the day, I used to use Pico, which was the ancestor of Nano, right? It's the same. That was on my, I used to log into like a Sun workstation or something. That's what it was on there. All right. Well, everybody, I am going to take off for a little bit. I'm going to be back, though, because we're going to do a quick stream this evening, setting up my GoPro for a remote shoot that I'm going to try to do tomorrow. So set your notifications. It'll be on Amazon and on YouTube at the same time. And we're going to come back and get that set up. So what we're going to do on that is set up my wireless AVX system on there to see what we've got there. Oh, yeah, they did do a bunch of stuff on the HTPC, and I think they now support M1 natively. So I got to get my Plex video together for the month, and that might be what we do. Ooh, Dark Matter. I've not seen the sci-fi show Dark Matter. Is that new? I'm always looking for good sci-fi. Oh, it's cool. It's a space opera. That's my kind of thing. Oh, it's an older show. I've never seen it. It was on Sci-Fi. Okay, so maybe it's is it on Peacock now? So I get Peacock as part of my Comcast subscription. And then my American Express gives me like the premium. You gotta like work all your coupons to avoid added costs these days. So good stuff. Maddie's daddy on Amazon wants to know, does anyone know how I change my name over here? That is a good question. I think it is linked to the name that makes the you review with, if that makes sense. So it's got to be in your profile somewhere. Because I've never changed mine, but I think it's tied to the username that you use for reviews. All right. Thank you, Chris, for tuning in. Thank you, Martin, for tuning in. Thank you, everybody. I'm glad you all enjoyed the stream. It's always fun to have you as part of this because it helps me out a lot to get some good tips. So I will be back again before you know it. In fact, I might be back a little later this evening. So set your notifications because as I'm setting up my system for tomorrow, I will stream it just so we can all watch me fumble around with things for a little bit. All right, so I will be back very shortly. I can't even talk anymore. Very shortly, but it looks like it stopped raining. It's going to take the dog out for a walk and have a little, well, it's only 3:45, but have some early dinner and get going. And Maddie's daddy learned a lot from you. Thanks. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for tuning in. I learned from other people. It's all paying it forward is how I look at it. All right, we will talk to you soon, everybody. Bye-bye.